Welcome to Twists of Life, where every story has an unexpected turn. Stories of joy and sorrow, hope and redemption, just like the life we all live. Make yourself comfortable. It's time to begin. A September day was drawing to a close. Anna walked unhurriedly along Shady Lane, returning with her shopping. It was the wonderful time of Indian summer, when nature generously bestows the last warm days. The foliage on the trees was just beginning to turn golden, and the air was filled with the scent of sun-warmed grasses. Young mothers with strollers were strolling along the neatly swept paths. The heavy bag of groceries pulled noticeably at her arm. Today, Anna had to make cheese soup for Mrs. Peterson. Moreover, she needed to finish her assignment by tomorrow, otherwise her hostess, her mentor, might express her displeasure. Anna studied independently under the guidance of Mrs. Peterson, a demanding teacher who gave her only student not the slightest leniency. But Anna liked it. The results were impressive, and she felt almost ready to apply to university. Only a few months remained until the exams. How much she longed to become a student again soon, even if only in the distance learning department. That didn't matter. Anna's mood darkened. Her thoughts returned again to that time, the most difficult period in her life. So much had fallen upon her then. How had she managed to endure, not to break? She herself didn't understand. But now everything had changed for the better. Life had settled down. She even had her own room, small but surprisingly cozy, with a beautiful view of a wide, almost rural-looking street. Mrs. Peterson's house was located in a quiet neighborhood of private homes. In the mornings, rooster crows could be heard from somewhere. Boys rode bicycles wildly along the narrow, almost deserted streets, and elderly women held unhurried conversations on benches by the fences. Peace and tranquility reigned here. Nearby, apartment buildings rose. A continuous stream of cars rushed along the roads. People hurried somewhere. But here time seemed to slow down. This neighborhood was not considered particularly respectable, but Anna had grown fond of it. Anna unlocked the gate and stepped onto the path leading through a small cherry orchard. The dog named Duplex met her with joyful barking, rushed towards her, sniffing the bag, and wagged his tail. Anna smiled, patted him on the back of the neck, and took out a treat from the bag, bought especially for him. The dog yelped with delight. It always made her happy to see his sincere, unrestrained joy. Climbing onto the porch, Anna pushed open the front door. "I'm home," she announced loudly. "Put the kettle on. Our show is starting soon," came Mrs. Peterson's voice from the depths of the house. The elderly woman was a distant relative of Anna's. The girl had difficulty understanding these intricate family ties. Mrs. Peterson's children were her mother's second cousins. Anna hadn't suspected their existence until she met them at her mother's funeral 2 years ago. Then, grief-stricken, she had to meet a whole crowd of strangers, many of whom turned out to be her very distant relatives. The girl flinched from the memories that suddenly flooded her. Perhaps because the anniversary of that tragedy was approaching. 2 years ago, it was also September, but not at all like now. Warm, sunny, gentle. Then, for several weeks in a row, the weather had been foul and dreary. Anna's mother often suffered from heart pain, monitored her blood pressure, and took medication. She rarely went to doctors, only in the most extreme cases. Several times she was hospitalized with an attack. Anna, still very young then, stayed with neighbors, and her heart would stop with every phone call. What if it was from the hospital? What if something had happened to Mom? The fear of losing her mother haunted Anna since childhood. There were several reasons. Firstly, her mother had serious heart problems. Secondly, there was neither time nor money for proper treatment. And thirdly, her mother had to raise her daughter alone, without anyone's support. It wasn't easy. Anna had never seen her father. Her mother once told her that her only daughter was the fruit of a short but passionate romance with a man who had come to the city on a business trip. Her mother knew nothing about him, where he was from, what he did, whether he had a family. That's how it happened, and that's it. And I don't regret anything, she often repeated. He was amazingly smart, handsome, intelligent. A daughter from such a man is a true gift of fate. Over time, Anna understood. Her mother probably still harbored feelings for this man, who had left and didn't even know his daughter existed. "Didn't you look for him?" Anna asked more than once. They lived a hard life, and sometimes the girl needed a father so much. But her mother just shook her head. "No, I didn't look. And why? He probably has his own life, a family. He didn't promise me anything. You are only mine." Her mother was the closest person to Anna. She was always her support, gave wise advice, knew how to dispel any sadness with a couple of words, and knew exactly when to leave her daughter alone without bothering her with questions. The woman worked as a cleaner in a local shopping center, and after her shift, she took on extra work as a dishwasher in a nearby cafe. She had no education. Anna's mother spent her childhood in an orphanage. Her parents lived in difficult circumstances, and the girl was taken from the family. But she didn't receive an apartment from the state as an orphan. Why? Because she had a share of her paternal grandmother's house. "But if you had a grandmother, how did you end up in an orphanage?" Anna asked, puzzled, hearing this story for the first time. "I had a grandmother, and other relatives too. But nobody needed an unwanted child. My parents didn't look after me. They had no time for me. I grew up left to myself. That's how I ended up in the orphanage. And then, after some time, my parents' house burned down. Nothing was left, neither my parents, nor their guests, nor the house itself. That's how I became a complete orphan." Time passed. Anna's mother left the orphanage. She dropped out of culinary school almost immediately. There was no time to sit at a desk. She needed to earn a living. At first, she lived with her grandmother, but in the dilapidated old house, besides them, many other relatives were crowded. Nobody welcomed the new lodger. In the end, they gave her her share for the house and kicked her out. "Of course they cheated me." Anna's mother shook her head. "But I was just a girl then, 18 years old, naive, didn't know life. So I was left with nothing. No home, no support, no education. I had to become a cleaner. What else could I do? I didn't even know how to handle a mop properly. I hadn't had to wash floors in the orphanage. And at my grandmother's, it was a completely different world. So I learned everything through practice." She rented a small room in a wooden barracks, got a job, and found friends among her neighbors. Life went on as usual. Sometimes the thought occurred to her that it wouldn't be bad to finish her studies, but at the memory of the dreary lectures and practical classes, this desire immediately disappeared. And why bother? Life wasn't bad as it was. What were these unnecessary complications for? And there was no one to tell me, a foolish girl, that education is the most important thing. So you, daughter, study, study. Don't be lazy. Maybe you'll achieve success in life. Your father is smart, educated, well off. You have every opportunity. Anna really did study. She was always among the best students in her class. Studying came easily to her, and in competitions, she invariably won prizes. Her mother rejoiced at these successes, was proud of her daughter, and carefully kept all her certificates in a separate folder. Anna's birthday became her mother's greatest joy. At least, she repeated this to her daughter more than once. "You were a wonderful baby. Big, intelligent eyes, deep blue, and thick eyelashes like fans. All the hospital staff came to admire you." Raising a daughter alone wasn't easy, but her mother coped with the difficulties. True, this meant taking on extra jobs. She worked tirelessly, often with almost no days off or vacation, trying to ensure her girl had everything she needed, that she was dressed decently, always fed. They still lived in a cramped room in a wooden barracks. Anna liked this place, but her mother often dreamed of the possibility of moving somewhere more respectable. Anna considered herself a happy child. She had many friends in the barracks. They loved playing in the overgrown yard. In the summer, the children would only run home for a quick bite and then run off to play again, towards new adventures. Parents were at work all day, so the boys and girls, left to themselves, enjoyed their freedom. They didn't think then about living in one of the poorest areas of the city. These children simply didn't know any other life. Anna's childhood was only overshadowed by worry for her mother. She very often felt unwell. Her mother would turn pale. Her lips would turn blue. Cold sweat would appear on her forehead. Her breathing would become heavy, wheezing and hoarse. Sometimes the attack would pass on its own or after taking a pill. Sometimes Anna had to run to a neighbor and call for an ambulance. Periodically, her mother was taken to the hospital, but this happened rarely. Usually, she categorically refused to be admitted. "What are you doing, Sarah? Have some pity on yourself," the neighbor would say reproachfully. "And how can I go to the hospital now? I work without official employment. They won't pay for sick leave. If I don't bring home a salary, what will my daughter live on? I'm thinking of her. If you're thinking of your daughter, take care of your health first and foremost. Go to the hospital. Annie can stay with us for now." "I will. I'll save up a little money, and then I will." But Anna's mother never found either the time or the money for herself. To her daughter, frightened by another attack, she promised with a smile, "Nothing will happen to me until you've grown up, understand? I know how hard it is to grow up in an orphanage, and I won't let that happen. You won't end up there. But your heart, it needs treatment. What if you're gone? That won't happen for a long time yet. My health isn't completely weak. Everything will be fine. You'll see." And life indeed went on as usual. Anna successfully finished school, got into university on a full scholarship, and even into the fashionable economics faculty at the time. Her mother was beside herself with happiness. She called everyone she knew, sharing the joyful news. People congratulated her, genuinely happy that the woman's dream had come true. "Just study well now," Anna's mother instructed her. "I feel you will achieve a lot." Anna herself planned to study excellently, get a first-class degree, and find a good, well-paid job. The future seemed cloudless, painted with the brightest colors. The girl really did succeed in everything. Some things weren't easy, but she didn't lack perseverance. In her first year, Anna received only excellent grades on her transcript, and she even started receiving an increased scholarship. But in her second year, at the very beginning of the academic year, what Anna feared most in the world happened. In the evening, her mother had another attack. The woman turned deathly pale, her lips completely blue. She was suffocating, her breathing became hoarse. The sight was terrible. Anna called for an ambulance. The doctors arrived quickly, but even those 7 minutes of waiting stretched on endlessly. Mom had never been so ill before. Soon the apartment filled with people in turquoise uniforms. They moved Anna towards the door, opened their bags, and attended to the patient. The girl sensed that things were bad from their anxious faces, from the snippets of phrases they exchanged. Her heart squeezed with fear. Shivers ran down her spine. Her head swam. Her legs gave way, as if they were alien. Anna had never experienced such fear. But hope still flickered. Anna clung to it with all her might. Yes, Mom was very ill, but the doctors would definitely help. If they saved her, everything would change. Anna would no longer let her mother refuse hospitalization. She would take care of her treatment, and everything would be fine. After all, Mom was still young, not even 40. But suddenly the paramedic sharply asked Anna to leave the room. The situation was critical. Snippets of phrases reached the girl. "We won't get her there." "Cardiac arrest." Terrible, hopeless words. Anna mechanically went out into the hallway, sank straight onto the floor, and covered her face with her hands. She wanted to hide from what was happening in the saving darkness. "My condolences." The doctor came out into the corridor, taking off his cap. "We did everything we could. You need to sign some papers." Anna seemed to scream. Loudly. Desperately. Hot tears streamed from her eyes. The terrible truth slowly penetrated her consciousness. And then everything blurred before her eyes. Spun. The girl fainted. Anna came to on the sofa in her neighbor, Aunt Carol's room. "My poor child," the woman sighed. "So young, and now you'll have to build your life yourself." Aunt Carol helped with the funeral. Many people Anna didn't know came to say goodbye. Her mother's colleagues, her friends, relatives. Yes, it turned out Anna had many relatives whose existence she hadn't suspected. Mom sometimes told her about them, but Anna hadn't listened carefully. That's when they approached her. Her mother's second cousins, Robert and Veronica. Both well-groomed, clearly well off. They gave her an envelope with a small sum of money and wished her to be strong. Anna looked at them with hope. Maybe they would offer help and support. She, so lost, crushed by grief, needed support now more than ever. But the relatives, apparently, considered their duty fulfilled, expressed their condolences again, and left. Approximately a week after the funeral, Anna began to think about the future. She had to earn a living somehow. She was already 18. She was an adult. But what kind of work? And when? All her time was taken up by studying. "You'll probably have to drop out of university." Aunt Carol shook her head sadly. "It's a pity. Your mother was so happy when you got in." "There's no other way," the girl sighed. She understood that her neighbor was right. It wouldn't be possible to combine studying and working. And if she didn't work, she would soon be evicted from her rented apartment, and she would have nothing to live on. And so it happened. Anna left her studies and went to work as a cleaner in a store. By bitter irony, the very same one where her mother had worked. A year passed unnoticed. Anna lived very poorly, barely making ends meet. The physical work was exhausting, but thoughts of her mother tormented her even more. The girl longed for her. Her soul ached. It was difficult to get used to the new reality, to a world where she was left completely alone. Anna tried not to remember those days. Even the thought of them was painful. But what else was there? She had to come to terms with reality and understand that life is like this. Unpredictable, difficult, not always gentle. One evening late, Anna was returning from work. Her hands ached, her back hurt. She could barely walk, dreaming of getting home quickly and collapsing onto the sofa. At her door, she saw figures of people. In the semi-darkness of the stairwell, she didn't recognize them immediately and was frightened. But then they stepped into the light on the landing. These were the same distant relatives she had seen at the funeral. A man and a woman, Robert and Veronica, her mother's second cousins, meaning her uncle and aunt. "Hello," Veronica smiled. She looked about 45, well-groomed, in an expensive coat, and smelled of expensive perfume. Behind her stood Robert, looking awkward. "Hello," Anna whispered in surprise. Of all people,